The Line, a $1 trillion desert megacity, has just hit its breaking point. The 170-kilometre mirrored city that was supposed to reshape the future is now being chopped down to just a few miles. With costs exploding, construction slowed to a crawl, and insiders say the vision has collided with physics, finances and reality. Today we're breaking down the scale back, the money sink, the human impact, the politics and the hidden twist, and what happens next. The Line is no longer 170 kilometres, it's a fraction of that. The mega project that promised a revolution in city design has officially shrunk. What was marketed as a straight, impossible looking sci-fi metropolis is now being built in only a tiny segment. Saudi officials originally announced a 170 kilometre linear city with mirrored walls stretching across the desert, designed for 9 million residents. But after years of slow construction and mounting pressure, the project has massively resized. Only a few kilometres long, it's currently under redevelopment. Equipment has been pulled from the larger footprint, and workers say many of the long-distance foundations have been paused indefinitely. This shift signals the original concept simply couldn't progress at the required pace or scale. It means the headline vision, the literal line, is no longer the city we were promised. But to understand why it shrank, we have to follow the money. The Line started as a $500 billion dream, and then ballooned towards $1 trillion. The Line was originally part of NEOM's £500 billion budget, but internal estimates leaked in 2024 to 2025 suggested the full 170 kilometre city could cost up to $1 trillion on its own, and up to $10 trillion if built exactly as envisioned over multiple decades. Pile foundations alone ran into billions. Oil revenues, which funded Vision 2030, fell, causing budget tightening across mega projects. With costs rising and returns decades away at best, financiers turned away. The result, only the most viable first few miles remained funded, while the rest have been postponed or quietly shelved. The project didn't just shrink, it became financially incompatible with the country's near-term economic goals. But the numbers don't tell the whole story. People on the ground felt this shift first. Behind the renderings, construction workers saw the real slowdown. Workers on site reported that machinery sat idle for weeks, with contractors unsure which sections were still active. Some teams were reassigned from large-scale trenching to smaller, concentrated zones. Local tribes, especially the Hawiyatap, faced displacement for a project that no longer resembles the scale they were told. And thousands of foreign workers who arrived expecting a decades-long megacity build found shifts cut and companies consolidating roles. The futuristic marketing didn't match the dusty, uncertain pace of daily operations. The slowdown didn't just hit budgets, it altered thousands of lives tied to a vision now in retreat. And while people felt the slowdown, experts began questioning the project's very structure. Institutions quietly adjusted without ever saying the Line was failing. Saudi Arabia publicly maintained that the Line is a strategic priority, but budget documents told a completely different story. Funding was reallocated towards AI, tourism, logistics and smaller NEOM sub-projects. Urban planners worldwide had criticised the Line's mirrored walls, the desert location and environmental challenges. Internally, engineers acknowledged that maintaining a 170 kilometre continuous megastructure was technically extreme and financially unsustainable. The official messaging softened towards phased development, a phrase often used to quietly walk back impossible timelines. The project didn't collapse, it was politically reframed to manage expectations. But the real twist sits deeper, in the part of the story the public almost never hears. The Line wasn't just a city, it was leverage. Why the dramatic vision served a strategic purpose even if never fully built. The Line functioned as a global branding device. It helped Saudi Arabia attract attention, propose bold investment narratives, lure tech companies, and position itself as the epicenter of futuristic urban innovation. Even partial construction created the image of transformation. Insiders say the project scale was never purely about feasibility. It was more about influence, showing the world that Saudi Arabia could dream up at impossible scale. Now that attention had been captured, the resources have quietly shifted into more conventional, profitable sectors like data centers, tourism districts, and defense tech. The line's boldness wasn't wasted. It was primed global investors for Saudi's broader ambitions. Which brings us to the biggest question of all. The line isn't dead, it's evolving. The active portion of the line will likely become a dense, high-tech district, smaller but more practical, designed for tourism, research and AI hubs. Not 9 million residents, the rest may be completed in scattered nodes rather than a continuous 170-kilometre line. Saudi leadership is expected to pitch a revised version of NEOM that prioritizes economic return and global partnerships. The giant mirrored walls may survive as a landmark in the first segment, but the endless linear megacity is now improbable. Instead, the line could become a compact showcase rather than the backbone of an entire region. The future city of Saudi Arabia will be real, just not the sci-fi version the world memorized. And this leads us perfectly into the conclusion. The line didn't fail, it's transformed. The $1 trillion dream shrank under its own weight, but the ambition behind it is already reshaping Saudi Arabia's economy and global identity. The question now is simple. Will this smaller, more realistic version succeed? Or will the first few miles of the line become a monument to a dream too big for the real world? Either way, the next chapter is coming, and it's going to redefine what mega projects look like from here. If you enjoyed this video, or me talking about projects just like this, then make sure that you like the video and subscribe to my channel for more.